All right. So today on episode, I believe, 78 of the Reckless Style podcast, because I still don't believe I'm going to make an effort to change that name. Um, I'm a little behind because a lot's been happening, and I also kept forgetting to record the podcast. So that's my bad. But a lot of topics. And in the background, you'll see my beautiful fiance as she is playing Dreamlight Valley, the newest update that came out. So you might also hear that in the background. Anyways, things to talk about. Universal Studios Hollywood, including Super Nintendo World, which is what we did for her birthday weekend. Along with that, we stopped by a Korean barbecue spot that had just been doing their soft opening called MGD Hollywood. I believe it's actually their fourth location. Um, going to talk about ramen spots. Ramen spot that we love to go to when we're in SoCal with my cousins. I was going to touch on March Madness, but I think that's really not that important at this time anymore. I was maybe going to touch on the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse trailer. Maybe even touch on live action Moana. I have written under my notes Andrew Wiggins' return to the Warriors. I'm going to kind of just bring that into how, the season ended and all that, with the NBA and the Warriors specifically going into the first round of the playoffs. I wanted to talk about the first, I guess, half or the first season of Trigun Stampede. Go a little bit into Star Wars Celebration, Indiana Jones, and the Super Mario Bros. Movie. And as always, if anything comes to mind, I'm just going to randomly throw it in there. But these are kind of the hot topics that I had penciled into my notes for the next episode of the podcast. Which means, though, because I'm late, I am going to be scraping at the bit trying to figure out what I'm going to talk about with technically this week's podcast that I should be releasing in a couple days. Really recording and releasing. But anyways, Universal Hollywood. We went on Saturday, which was, weekend days are always going to be busy. This was a sold out day. And it felt like a sold out day, definitely. Don't you think, bub? You can just nod. Yeah. Not like unmanageable, especially if you're used to like Disneyland. Um, I didn't think it was crazier than what we've ever dealt with at Disneyland, but it was pretty busy. We got there at 9. Park opened at 8. We didn't want to do the hour early tickets so that we could go to Super Nintendo World like first thing. One, because we got into SoCal at like 1 o'clock or something, 1 or 2. Yeah, I think like 1, but like we went to bed after 2 after we finally settled in. So realistically, we knew we weren't going to be able to rest and get ready and wake up to be there by 7. So it would have been a waste to pay what would have been an extra $30 per ticket for that. But in the end, it all worked out. So as soon as we got to the park, in the parking lot, I was able to get onto the Universal Studios Hollywood app and start looking at Super Nintendo World for reservation times for the reservation queue, virtual queue, for not just me and Anna, but for some family as well. So I was able to do that. And you really had to be on that quick because, like I said, we got to the parking structure around 9 o'clock. And the earliest available times were around noon. And the first 3 slots that I tried to get while I'm in the app were already like, I would click reserve and it would be like, your time is gone. Select your next slot. So I just kept selecting the earliest slot time to do that. And then you have like a 30-minute window during the day to make it into the park. Now, that's one of your only ways to get in the park besides, doing the early bird access or having like, I think, a VIP ticket. So our slot was like 12:40 to like 1:10 or something like that, if I remember correctly, for our return time. One of the things we didn't know was that for the Toadstool Cafe, if that's what it's called, but the one restaurant within the Super Nintendo World part of the park is only available access. Trying to figure out my words here. You're only able to get into it by reservation, but to get a reservation, you have to scan a QR code. There are 2 QR codes in the park, and they're specifically at Super Nintendo World. So unless you are in the park and have access to that particular world, you cannot make that reservation because you have to scan a physical QR code. Um, and one is in front of the world and the other is in front of the cafe. So unfortunately, by the time we were able to get in, which was after, afternoon, all the reservations were gone, and they mentioned that you don't really cancel reservations. Now, from some of my coworkers who went on a weekday, definitely a different experience. They were able to get reservations and all that a lot easier. But one of the things, and I'm just going to kind of keep focusing on the Super Nintendo World part of it, is that we eventually learned, because some of the Super Nintendo World merch is only available from the 1UP factory inside the actual land. So within the last 2 hours or so, 3 hours of the park, the entire Universal Studios Hollywood being open, we went to every store looking for this particular crew neck I wanted, and then realized, oh shoot, we have to try to get back into Super Nintendo World, and there are no in and out privileges with those reservation slots. Once you're in that particular area, when you leave, you need a separate reservation, and by like 10 o'clock, all the reservations were gone, so that was a little stressful. But what we learned is, towards the last couple hours of the park night, they just open it up. There's no security. You can just walk in. And even the signs in the app will now say reservation slot time no longer needed for entry. So what we learned is, if you don't have a reservation time, just try to come back within the last couple hours of the park opening and you should be good. In discovering that too, we learned, one, it looks cooler at night. And two, there's a lot less people, so it's way less crowded. The lines for all the like activities and the games there are not as crowded, so you're not waiting as long. And then all the interactive stuff aren't going to be as bombarded by little kids that don't understand the idea of, like, we got to take turns. There are other people who also want to partake in it. That was one of my big pet peeves about the park and the way it was being ran. Anyways, yeah, so in the event that you aren't able to get a reservation, just wait till towards the end of the night and then make your way there, and you should be in a better space than you would have been, and it would have been a better experience, less crowded than it was earlier. But on the positive notes, we did love it. It was a lot of fun. We were taking our nephew around, and that was a lot of fun. He really enjoyed it. But we knew we couldn't be there the entire time because it was too crowded. And even though it was around 70 degrees, which isn't that hot for SoCal, the way the floor is painted in the Super Nintendo World specifically, it kind of reflects the heat and sunlight back up towards you. So it felt extremely hot while we were over there. But that's just, a little minute detail. Now, as fun and interactive as the land is, it's very small, which is why, during the busier daylight hours, it kind of sucks because you are crowded, you are bumping into people, everybody's trying to do everything, and it's tiny, so there isn't a lot of breathing room. On top of that, outside of the 3 game lines for the ability to unlock the keys so that you can go face Bowser Jr., there is one ride, and it's the the Mario Kart ride. That is the only ride in that particular area, and that wait can get really long. Usually it's pretty typical of upwards of 3 hours. Now, we did the ride. We did not have to wait that long, but I will be honest, unless it is your very first time there, I would not wait more than an hour for that ride. As cool as it was, I would enjoy playing Mario Kart more than doing that ride again. Yeah, so I would rather do that. But if it's your first time, by all means, try it out. You're already there. You might as well. But in general, I wouldn't wait 3 hours for any ride at any theme park. But this one was like, it wasn't even my favorite ride. I thought some of the technology was really cool. The like augmented / virtual reality aspect of it was really cool. But in the end, it wasn't even really you want to take the idea of like a live real life Mario Kart, but even then it didn't really fully capture that. Um, and I feel like if you ride it, you'd probably understand why I don't think it's the best ride. I don't even think it completely accurately captures the thrill of actually playing Mario Kart. But anyways, would we go back and did we spend $40 per power band? Yes, we did. And that was actually kind of fun. I think you're missing out on a big part of the experience if you don't get the power bands, and you don't play the games and you don't earn the stickers. It's that interactiveness is what I think makes that particular park area so cool and makes me want to go back to it because I would like to earn all the stickers down the road and all the stamps or whatever. Um, Also, with that, there isn't really a snack thing. I know, like, every land has like its own little area of snacks. What's weird is the snack little shop for Super Nintendo World is actually located outside of Super Nintendo World, across from the Jurassic World area ride. And honestly, it's not really a great offering. They offer like three different types of like themed soda beverages and popcorn. And then the big draw with the popcorn is you can get like the themed buckets. I mean, yes, the lanyard hanging light up superstar bucket is pretty cool, but it's like $40, and I don't think you should be $40 for a bucket of popcorn. And this is coming from someone who feasts on popcorn when it's available. Besides that, though, we did get to enjoy other parts of Universal. Because we had our nephew with us, what did we do? We did Secret Life of Pets. It's a bunch of cutesy stuff. Secret Life of Pets. We did the Minions ride. Was that it? Were those like the only two rides we did? And then the backlot tour? And backlot tour. So we actually didn't do much of the rides. Oh, Anna and I did Harry Potter. We actually got to do that twice. The two rides there. I totally forgot about that. Funny enough, so the two times we rode, I forgot what the name of the main one, but the big ride that goes through the castle. The first time we rode it just me and her because we were waiting for the rest of the family to show up. So we did that early when the line was still short. One, we totally forgot how actually like scary. Like it's a pretty scary ass ride. It is like not for the faint of heart, especially like the spiders and more importantly going through the Dementors. Like that is not for children. But it crashed on us. Broke down. I say crashed because like it was the screens that went dark, so then we were kind of just sitting there in the dark, kind of like suspended. It was kind of weird, kind of creepy. And then the second time we rode it with one of Anna's cousins, and it broke down on us again. So I'm wondering if we were the problem, as the ride was broke down every time we rode it that day. Okay, I'm the problem, maybe. But yeah, like the second time it broke down, it was in the front of some Dementors, and I hated that. I was like, this sucks. Well, one, the breaking down part sucks, but two, I'm just like, the Dementors are really well made because they're creepy as all hell in that ride. Yeah, that ride kind of creeps me out. Besides that, we got a lot of butterbeer. Butterbeer is delicious. I think the best way to enjoy butterbeer is frozen, though, from the ways we had it. Did not leave with a 1 this time. I was really annoyed with the Harry Potter section, though, because a lot of the interactive 1 areas, because our nephew got a 1 and was really excited, but a lot of them had hexes put on them, or jinxes, anti-magic jinxes, which meant that basically in real life terms, shit was broken. So that was really annoying that like half of the areas where you're supposed to use the interactive wands were broken. So it's kind of like, well, that's a bummer. Why am I paying for this wand if I can't do half of the things that I want to do over here with it? Besides that, though, the backlot tour experience was great. This is the second time that I've done the backlot. Anna loves the backlot tour. That's like one of the things that she really likes and takes away from it. Our first time we did it, it wasn't as memorable, but this one was really fun. Our guide, Chris, was great. He's my kind of humor, so that works really well. But also there were some like new parts of it. We got to see part of the new, American Ninja Warrior set because they were getting ready for filming, and we got to see part of oh god, what is the name of the land? It's from the thing from Get Out. Jupiter. No, is it Jupiter? Jupiter's Claim. There you go. We got to see part of the Jupiter's Claim set that was left there. So that was really cool because that night when we all got home, we ended up watching Nope. So that was kind of cool that we got to see part of the set for that and then finally watch the movie. And I thought that was really, really cool. Besides that, though, that's kind of all Universal was. We really focused on the that park, Super Nintendo World, and it was cool. We would do it again, but I mean, I really hope they find a way to continue and expand upon it in Hollywood because like it's not a full day thing. If you aren't dealing with a huge crowd and lines, you could probably get everything done with 1 to 3 hours in that particular area alone. Which is like not a bad thing, but it's just, something to keep in mind. One of the things I did appreciate though is Universal, and I didn't realize this the very first time I went a few years ago. Universal wants you adults to drink. There are bars everywhere. There is alcohol everywhere, and I like that. I appreciate that. And the alcohol we did have wasn't bad. I enjoyed it. Even Yeah, she got a margarita. I got some Duff because we were at Moe's Tavern in the Springfield area, and that was pretty good. Um, we also enjoyed the food we ate. We got food from like the Minions Cafe. Um, I got a grilled cheese, but it was with meatballs. So it's kind of like a meatball sub grilled cheese, and I actually really enjoyed that. I was very surprised. Also had some rotisserie chicken, which was pretty good. The fries were pretty good. They're crinkle cut fries, but they were pretty good. And then I ate some chicken tenders, and it's really hard to fuck up chicken tenders, but those were pretty good. So I was very, very pleased with actually how good the food ended up being. Okay, I think that's all I really have on Universal Hollywood that I can think of. Yeah. So that night we stumbled upon and went to a Korean barbecue spot that was just a couple of minutes away, and it was a new location for MGD, all you can eat Korean barbecue, called MGD Hollywood. Is their newest location. We didn't realize we kind of caught them on a weird soft opening day where they basically opened like, because we left the parks around 8 or around 9 or something like that, and the barbecue spot had only been open for since 8 that day because of how crazy it had been. But it was cool. It was nice. The food was good. The food felt clean. Sometimes you go to a Korean barbecue spot, especially if it's an ace spot, you kind of feel like greasy afterwards or while you're eating. I didn't get any of that. Like I felt like the food was like good quality meats. Service was pretty solid. I enjoyed it. We got to meet, I believe, the owner. Really cool dude. Very, 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 very personable. Very, very good at like talking to his customers and schmoozing. But I mean, we had such a good experience that we would go back, right? Yeah, we would go back. Absolutely. If you are in SoCal though, I believe MGD has like 4 different locations. Um, yeah, so this would be their newest one in Hollywood, which I really enjoyed. Parking is like valet. We did valet because of the way the area was, because it's like on a corner. So I think it's street parking, but we just thought valet would be easier. And I do not regret that choice. They do have a full bar, and I think the way they advertise it when we were talking to the owner is that like they have the Korean barbecue side, and then they have more of like a fine dining steakhouse idea that they're gonna go in there. At the time, they had live music and a DJ, so they also want to open up for like a club, like dance floor type of vibe, like after dinner service is done. So definitely a cool vibe, very very SoCal LA type of vibe. And I hope they do well. I know they'll do well because the food alone and the price that we paid was worth it. So we'll definitely be back. Keeping on with the food, so we saw some cousins of mine and family, and we always get food. So we went to a ramen spot that we got taken to by them before, and we really enjoyed Sujita ramen. And there's a few Sujita like variants and locations all off Sawtell. I think we went to the original one, the one on the corner. And I always get the sukumen dipping noodles, and like that's my favorite thing to get there. Great ramen, but the thing I'm going to talk up is the apple juice. They were advertising this apple juice with on the menu, and let me tell you, some good apple juice. That was premium apple juice. It looked kind of pulpy. It looked kind of like a lemonade kind of consistency, or a pineapple juice kind of consistency. Because usually I feel like if you think of apple juice, you think of like Martinelli's or Treetop kind of apple juice, and it's kind of that like dark amber piss kind of color. And this was not like, it didn't look like that, but it was some of the best apple juice, if not the best apple juice I've ever had. So if if you ever get to go to Sujita Ramen, get that apple juice. March Madness. It's been long enough that I don't really think I need to talk about it more in depth, but both on the women's college basketball side and the men's college basketball side, what a start and what a finish all around. On the women's side, crazy upsets, especially with like Stanford losing so early. Really cool to see the Iowa kind of like run, especially surrounding Caitlin Clark and what she did. Not exactly the ending, that she would have wanted or Iowa would have wanted, but congratulations to both sides, Iowa and LSU, if I remember correctly. LSU deserved the win. They were clearly in control from start to finish, and well deserved. Some good stuff out of there. Men's basketball. Oh man, UConn back on top. Not really surprising with the way things kind of played out with some of the major upsets and losses. Getting up to that Elite Eight, Final Four, and the championship game. At some point, I think a lot of people were thinking like it feels like it could inevitably be UConn's to win. And congratulations to them as well. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, that trailer dropped. A lot of things to like, and I know the big question is why does Spider-Man 2099 why does he hate Miles Morales? What exactly is going on? Besides that, you do love that Peter B. Parker is back. You get the trio back, and we get Mayday back. Not Mayday back, but we get to see Mayday. That's really cool. I'm hoping for more trailers to give like more insight, but obviously that's probably the most hyped, in my opinion, comic book movie coming out within the next year or so, if I remember correctly. I think that's coming out this year, but I'm going to say within the next year or two, with everything happening. I think still, as long as it's a Spider-Verse movie, that's going to be on the forefront of anyone's mind when it comes to superhero movies. Recently, live action Moana got announced, largely in part with the help of Maui, Dwayne Johnson. I don't have a problem with a live action Moana. I only raise questions as to why so soon, why now. I just think it's interesting because Moana really hasn't even been out that long compared to some of the other princesses. And I know we've run through a few of the live action ones, but we haven't done like a live action. I'm like, nothing wrong with live action adaptations, but it's like they haven't even done all the other earlier princesses. But we're already going to Moana. We haven't even looked at like a live action Frozen. We haven't looked at, I don't know, who's it? A live action Tiana. We don't want to do that. what other princesses are there? Um, uh, Pixar, yeah, Brave, a live action Merida, Brave. We've done Cinderella, we've done Belle. We technically did Aurora twice because there were two Maleficent movies, even though they weren't really about Aurora, but we do have a live action Aurora. We had Mulan. Did I hit all of them? Did I get them all? I think I got them all. Yeah. But yeah, it's just nothing wrong with it. I just question the timing and the need to do Moana now. When there's still other. I mean, there's other stories you could tell, but also there are other live action princesses that I think could use the time now. Um, if anything, I feel like I'm a little disappointed that we're not seeing an effort with a live action Tiana being pushed. Basketball. So I have Wiggins' return labeled here. He was shut down towards the end of the season, but he was, with the team. It was confirmed that he's working out. He's getting some practices in. And I believe he will make the starting rotation when the Warriors face off against the Kings next week after the play-in tournaments are done, or the play-in games are done. Well, so if anyone watched all the basketball, I mean, the last day of the regular season, a lot of great stuff. I mean, the big one people were talking about is, Gobert trying to punch Kyle Anderson and that whole crazy shit. And then, the memes, the comparisons to what happened with Draymond and Jordan Poole. It's all great. It's all great stuff. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about why, obviously also people talked about the Warriors getting exactly what I think they wanted in the matchup against the Kings. I think they match up well. I think they match up better. I think they have an easier road to the second round compared to possibly having to face the Suns. And a lot of things had to go right for that. Luckily, the Suns lost to the Clippers and seeds got locked, so 6 goes 3. Warriors get Kings. Even without home court advantage, I still agree that experience is going to be on the Warriors side. I do question the rotations because it's going to be weird. I do question Andrew Wiggins' ability to play at game playoff speeds and intensities right off the bat after missing so much time. But I think they have it. I do believe, though, you definitely cannot count out the Kings. They are a young team. They are a hungry team. Mike Brown is doing an amazing job. He's going to finish Coach of the Year. It should be unanimous. And if it's not, the voters are ridiculously foolish for not voting him unanimous for Coach of the Year. And, the big thing, too, is Mike Brown is very familiar with the Warriors team. So, he is going to have a lot of insight into how they play and those kinds of things. But at the same time, Kerr and the rest of their coaching staff on the Warriors should also, they'll be prepared for knowing that Mike Brown knows them too. Trigun Stampede. If you haven't watched it, it's sort of the remake or reimagining of the original Trigun from God knows when. From when I was a kid. I think it even showed on Toonami back in the day. 3D CG sort of animated. Honestly, they can both coexist. I actually loved these first 12 episodes that adapted up until... I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but yeah, up until the Eric's point in the story, because it's not really spoilers, because the progression of things and certain events still happen as they're intended to, but some things are just done in a different visual style or different elements were changed to not make it the same story, but to make it not a complete... a retelling with I think a new audience, a new era. But I love it, and I think you can have both. I think for people who want to compare, that's unavoidable, but I believe it's fair to accept both for what they are. The original has its place, and it will always be there, and this one has its place too, and it should be respected as such. For the record, I do watch it dubbed just because that's how I watch the original one, and Johnny Young Bosch's Vashta Stampede is just perfect for me. And in general, the this is one of the shows where the live action voice acting actually did really well. Star Wars Celebration, a lot of Star Wars stuff got announced. I do not think I am capable of covering everything Star Wars related, but some of the things that stood out to me that I thought was really cool was the announcement that Daisy Ridley is coming back as Rey. Not necessarily believe for another trilogy, but I know that they announced that 3 live-action Star Wars films are on the slate for the future. But I'm just happy to know that she has felt comfortable to come back, especially with how bad she was attacked, how bad a lot of the stars were attacked, like John Boyega and I think it's Marie Tran, with the Last Jedi and the Last Skywalker. There was a lot of backlash because the Star Wars certain fans wanted wasn't being made, and they were the people who were responsible for it. But anyways, yeah. So I'm glad to see that she feels comfortable enough to come back and return as Rey, and I look forward to seeing where that goes in terms of her, trying to rebuild a new Jedi Order. Along with that, Ahsoka got announced. Really excited about Ahsoka and where that could go. Jedi Survivor is coming out soon. There's a lot of hype with that. The new trailer for Visions, and if you liked the first season of Visions, I'm pretty sure we're all going to love the second season of Visions. What? No. This is Star Wars Visions, not WandaVision. I believe Vision in the Marvel world cinematic universe, he is getting his own show, if I remember correctly, though. Yeah. No, you're good. Yeah, so those are some. And then Andor. I believe Andor is getting its next season. So that's really cool, too. If you haven't watched Andor, it is, in my opinion, the best Star Wars show to come out. So, if you didn't, if you haven't watched it, you should. And if you did watch it, I don't see why you're not excited for another season. Not gonna talk about Indiana Jones or the Super Mario Bros. Movie, because I have not watched the trailer, and for Super Mario Bros. Movie, I haven't seen it. All I can say is I do intend to see it, hopefully, if I can make that work. And with what I've heard, it is kind of what I expect. I don't expect anything groundbreaking, but I do expect to be entertained and to enjoy this take on a beloved franchise and group of characters. I do know that it is not an adult movie. It is a kids movie, so that is another reason you have to take it with that grain of salt as to why you can't expect some sort of groundbreaking masterpiece. It is a Nintendo movie. It is a Mario movie. So, it is what it is. I need some water. That's kind of almost everything I think I wanted. I think I went too fast. Advance Wars, the 1 and 2 reboot camp, that is getting closer and closer to release. If you were a fan of the Nintendo DS versions of those games, I hope that you will pick those back up. I'm super juiced for that. That was one of my favorite franchises, and I'm really excited to jump back into that. So that's probably something I'm going to be purchasing as soon as it comes out as well. Oh, boy. Let's see. All right. Well, I did that way faster than I thought I was going to do. It's only been about half an hour, so that's pretty... You thought I talked too fast? Yeah. Damn it. Why didn't you tell me to slow down? You can interrupt me. Another thing, more set photos have been coming out from Joker 2. A lot of it focusing around Lady Gaga's version of Harley Quinn. And you know what? I think her look, at least the in-costume look for it, actually works for, this setting of this movie. Very curious to see how it all plays out. I know I know I don't know much about it outside of what I've seen. I haven't really bothered to look into it. But speaking of looking into things, The Last Ronin. If you don't know what that is, and you are Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fans, you need to get on that, because The Last Ronin is not just as a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle story, but just in general as like a comic book story, is one of the best reads you can get out there. It is dark, but I think it fits a lot more in line with what the original TMNT comics were like and about. It's not a pretty story, but it, in my opinion, is one of the best stories ever told, or being told, surrounding the turtles. And a lot of hype has been made about a possible future game coming out soon, focusing around that. And it is a great game idea. One, because, and it also shifts the focus, because it you're used to a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle game having all four of the characters, all four of the main turtles available, but this would change that, right? Because only one turtle is alive, right? And you're gonna get something dark, you're gonna get something gritty, and I think you could have a great time. So I'm really looking forward to that. I really hope it does come to fruition, because I will definitely be looking into that and looking to play that. Let's see. Blah, 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 blah. I think I am now really, really, really running out of things to discuss. Yes. Hey, but is there anything you think I should be talking about that I didn't talk about? Were you even listening to me? Okay. Okay, and with that, I guess I'll wrap that up. Wow, 37 minutes. I definitely did talk too fast. Well, anyways, thanks for listening. I should be dropping another one sometime this week. Hopefully, if I remember, because that's on me. But anyways, thanks for listening, and I will see you all later. Or, I will speak to you all later. Thanks for listening. Later, all.